These 3 tips have helped me not only declutter my home but maintain a clutter-free environment, and they will help you too. I call them the 3 Ds of decluttering. When I first began decluttering, I went into it with a sense of urgency. I would swoop up some items and get rid of them just like that. Just as I sometimes shopped compulsively, so too would I declutter compulsively. Maybe I wanted to hide the evidence and get rid of the feelings of shame and guilt for having purchased items that I really didn't need. Or perhaps it was wanting to recover some space and regain a feeling of peace and tranquility. I wanted to breathe again, and my stuff had started to overwhelm me. So I got rid of a lot of things. But that only worked for a time, and despite my frenzy to clear my space, I soon started to see items creeping in one by one, especially clothing and shoes. That was when I decided to do a deep dive. Now I don't get rid of clutter as quickly as I can. I get close and personal with it first. Ever watch one of your possessions and think, what really made me buy this? I let my clutter talk to me and teach me. I ask myself, why is this item no longer serving me? Or why have I never worn this dress? And soon a pattern began to emerge. I noticed that I never wore shirts that needed ironing or that were oversized and swallowed me up. I also found that I didn't wear certain types of fabric that I found a bit uncomfortable and scratchy. Looking at my shoes, I realized that my heels were no longer comfortable in my current lifestyle. I also asked myself, how did I come by this item? Many of them had been purchased during sales. I love a good bargain, so whenever Payless had a BOGO sale, I purchased not only 2 but sometimes up to 6 pairs of shoes. So now I hardly go to those sales, and I've unsubscribed from those Facebook pages that would alert me that a sale was coming up. I've also blocked those text messages from my phone. So now I go to shop with a wish list and I buy the things that I need. I found it easier to avoid temptation altogether rather than try to resist it. Maybe you bought something because the shopping attendant or your best friend told you that it looked good on you. That happened to me a lot. I would be flattered when an attendant said that a dress was made for me and that I had the perfect shape and size for it, and I would forget to check in with myself. So I started going shopping alone and trusting my instinct more and not allowing the clerks to bully me into making a purchase so that they could get their commission. When decluttering, look at your items and ask yourself whether you've ever used them. If you used them in the past, why did you stop? If you realize that you no longer gravitate towards certain styles, maybe you could do a style board on Pinterest. Look for any items that appeal to you and get reacquainted with your style. Some of your items may be gifts, and we'll get to that in the 3rd point. Before saying goodbye to your clutter, take copious notes. Let it help you understand yourself better. When you do that, your clutter is not wasted and you can avoid clutter traps in future. It's a long-term tool for curating a space that works for you. Develop systems and habits to keep clutter at bay. Books. I love them, but I live in a 1-bedroom apartment, so there's no room for a big library. So I've put a system in place to ensure that they don't get out of hand. I used to love browsing in bookstores. It was one of my favorite things to do. But now I hardly ever go into a physical bookstore. Now, before buying a book, I read reviews and I look for an audio or Kindle version. If I'm really excited about a book, I may still buy a physical copy. Sometimes I just like to feel the pages and to make some notes in the margins. But I have a new rule. So when I get a new favorite book, I get rid of one of the old ones. I have a few friends who like to read, so I know who I'm passing them on to. Setting limits is important. So my books must fit on one bookshelf, my jeans in one drawer, and I only have 2 feet, so I don't need 50 pairs of shoes. I have 3 little bins and all my shoes fit there, as you saw in my shoe declutter video. Systems allow us to be intentional about what we bring in and how we manage it. Paper can be difficult to manage, and sometimes I find those receipts and credit card slips piling up in my wallet. So every Monday, I reconcile my accounts, I note my expenses, and I get rid of those receipts. And every night before bed, I do a quick tidy of my workspace and get rid of any documents that I no longer need. Another of my systems is to practice mindful purchasing for non-consumable items. I ask myself, do I really need this item? Will it bring me joy? Will it add value to my life? What purpose is it going to serve? Do I have another item that serves a similar purpose? Where will I store it? Asking these questions helps me decide yay or nay when I'm faced with a new purchase. Another system is my monthly decluttering schedule. On the last Friday of every month, I declutter my home so I usher in the new month with peace. I'm in a one-bedroom apartment, but you may have to declutter in zones based on your living space and the number of possessions you have. Do you have a decluttering schedule? To keep a curated environment, it's helpful to have a system in place to nip that clutter in the bud. The third D is a difficult one. It's deal with the emotions. A lot of our clutter can be linked to the emotions we feel, especially sentimental items. I think it's a natural part of human nature to get attached to people and possessions, but emotional attachment to our things can make decluttering quite a challenging process. Practice detachment by focusing on the present moment and the benefits of letting go. Remind yourself that the memories reside within you and not in a physical object. In the video above, I share some strategies for dealing with the emotions that come up when decluttering. But let's look at some that I've dealt with recently. Sometimes I feel attached to an item when it reminds me of a happier time in the past. Maybe it's a memento that I purchased during my travels. Instead of holding on to that memento, maybe I need to create some new experiences that will add joy to my life. Dealing with grief is a big one. Sometimes we hold on to items because they were given to us by someone we loved who has passed on. Recently, I let go of a book that my mom had purchased for me when I was studying English literature at school. She had written a little note to me and I cherished it and loved seeing her handwriting. So instead of holding on to the book, I decided to take a photo of that little note that she had written to me. I don't need a physical book to remember my mom. I remember her all the time, and it's been over 30 years. Dealing with grief takes time. Write about your feelings, talk about them with friends, get support from a counselor if you need to. Give yourself time to work through those emotions. And when you're ready to get rid of some of the possessions, remember that you're not getting rid of the person. The possessions are not your loved one. They wouldn't want you to be burdened by their stuff. Clutter is a common challenge these days. No one is immune. Understand your clutter. Develop systems to keep it at bay. Release the emotions that are not serving you. What challenges do you face when decluttering your home? Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. See you soon.